Welcome to my channel. Hey, it was a great. I don't want to say it was a great game yesterday, but it was a surprise. Put it that way. I was thoroughly surprised how things played out. I originally thought it was definitely going to be a mostly defensive game, which pretty much what it was. It was definitely defensive. Let's be honest, it was more defensive than offensive. But Seattle, you knew what their game plan was. The thing is, Vrabel did not adjust. You knew what their game plan, which was basically they were going to run it down your throats. And the fact that New England couldn't do anything about it, that's on them at that point. But quite honestly, because like you were too dependent on Drake May, he might have done really well during the season, regular season and even parts of the postseason. The problem was, it's like even the postseason, you saw what his uh, basically negatives were. It came out. You saw some of the factors of what held him back against the Denver game, and specifically the fact that Bo Nix was in there, and Denver knew full well what they needed to do. It looks like basically Seattle adjusted their defense to that. Basically, like quite honestly, some of those sacks were like a four-man rush, basically, and like you can't say that um, New England's offensive line wasn't that great, but quite honestly, I think they were just overwhelmed more than anything else because their offensive line is pretty decent. Let's be honest. New England, the Patriots' offensive line. This is a growing opportunity for May, but who knows? We'll see what happens. This could also be a case where like he might become another Cam Newton, where he went in, basically sucks, and then he just goes down, on decline. I don't know. That's a possibility. I don't know. But the fact of the matter is, Seattle, you knew what they were doing. Seattle also knew what to do. They adjusted, and the fact is like I'm not gonna say Sam Darnold showed his true capabilities. I think in this situation, he definitely learned last year from the Rams playoff game with the Minnesota Vikings. I think he definitely learned that it's one of those things where like, look, do not muck it up. Do not give out the turnovers. Reduce the turnovers. Basically, don't throw any interceptions. If anyone else fumbles it, that's on them. It's not on him. He throws it. If he doesn't throw an interception and he knows where to throw it, like step out of bounds, you know, throw the ball out of bounds, basically, fine. I don't think this is a case where Sam Darnold basically showed, like, oh yeah, he's a great quarterback. I don't think so in that situation with the Super Bowl, because this is a case where like if you have a good running back, let's be honest, Walker, that was surprising what happened there. Let's be honest. New England's defense was pretty good too. They literally held the Seattle Seahawks, the Hawks, to like 12 points by the third quarter practically. Like four field goals. Honestly, New England should have had the shot to go into basically at that point, but Vrabel could not adjust. I didn't know. I don't think Vrabel knew how to adjust on the offensive side of things, and like capitalize. Because like the thing is like well, let's be honest. I don't know if it was Drake May or the receivers. Diggs should have gotten some of those balls as well too. But quite honestly, it was a case where like there was a lot of missed opportunities for the Patriots. Let's put it this way. I think the defense showed Seattle's defense showed that like you pressure May well enough, he will fold, and that's what happened. That's what I think happened basically in this situation. I think May folded because the fact is like Diggs was kind of covered quite often, and like Diggs every time the ball was thrown to him, it was surprising. But anyways, the fact of the matter is this: CX knew what to do defensively. They were it's like the Legion of Boom was pretty much practically back. You could see that the Legion of Boom was practically back. Quite honestly, I thought this game was so reminiscent in a ways of what the Bears Patriots game was in '85 in that Super Bowl. That's like almost in that situation where the Bears defense killed basically the Patriots at that point. And this is a case where like quite honestly, they probably could have if Darnold was good enough, and he probably could have, when I say good enough, to the point of like beyond a game manager, being like a Tom Brady, well, not Tom Brady, but more of like I guess you could say like a Goff, basically in that aspect. If he was like Goff, basically, where he could just throw the ball willy nilly practically and get his receivers, this would have been a blowout at that one. This would have been a blowout. Instead of having those four field goals, would have been probably four touchdowns at point. Honestly, this would have been a blowout. But Darnold knew not to give up the ball. You could see that he game managed in ways. He knew not to give up the ball. He just had to make sure that, I don't want to say he was mistake free, but make sure that he did not turn over the ball. Once he knows that he can get down and just pass it on, give it on to Walker, and just get enough to the point where like they focus on his, the passing game, that they just have to go to Walker. And the problem is Again, New England, surprisingly enough, they knew, but they just could not stop it from there. And let's be honest, May also having those turnovers, that didn't help him in the long run as well at that point as well too. But this is a case where like it shows that your defense can win you the games. This is again a case with the Seattle Seahawks in this Super Bowl. The defense pretty much won this game. I know Walker was the MVP, but reality is you go back, this should have been the defense that should have been MVP because like Seattle's defense was the MVP in this situation. If not for that, I don't think Seattle wins this game at that point. This defense was unbelievable, and that's why I think everyone realizes at this point it's like you just have to really have a good defense, good offensive line in a ways. But if you're running back and get I mean, honestly, I was surprised what Walker was able to do as well too. Honestly, if you have Walker showed that he's capable of being that kind of superstar running back that he could put everything on his shoulders at that point. To the point where like you saw what Saquon Barkley did last year as well too, like in that Super Bowl. It was mostly the Saquon Barkley show. Jalen Hurts, if he doesn't screw up, he just gets the ball where it needs to go and game manages properly, then it's good. That's quite honestly it. I mean, like, granted, all these quarterbacks right now are no Tom Brady or Peyton Manning because these guys didn't have a running back. These guys knew how to drive the offense and they knew how to pass and all that stuff. Similar to what Mahomes is. But Mahomes, I think most sort of case of a situation where it's like he needs the offensive line, the rest of the team to be copacetic. But reality is this is showing that basically you have a good running back in your backfield. All you need is a really excellent defense. You just need a really decent quarterback. Daniel Jones, don't be surprised with the Indianapolis Colts. He will probably know how to game manage at that point. The problem is like I think they need a good backup at that point. That's the other factor is you need quarterbacks that be good game managers. Purdy, I hate to say this, but San Francisco, Purdy is not your quarterback. He's just a good game manager because he's just a plug-and-play type of person. So like, you saw what, Mac Jones did. I mean, honestly, he sucked with the New England, and like all of a sudden he's doing really well. I think Sam Darnold also the same. I mean, let's be honest. Sam Darnold and Daniel Jones, I think they would be elevated to a quote-unquote superstar from the perspective. I think it was just the system that would show them at that point. But reality is take him off those systems and take Purdy off the 49ers. Put him on to the Colts or to the Seahawks, you'll show that he's not that great, but he will be able to game manage at that point. That's all it really is. That's the same thing like what we saw with Trent Dilfer, honestly. Like you saw what Trent Dilfer did with the Ravens in 2000. He wasn't a great quarterback, but he just needed to be good enough to the point like the game manage probably without giving the ball off or turning the ball over. So that was the situation with this case, and that's why I think I'm a little more optimistic with the Giants, more so to the point of like I think we have a solid nucleus for defense, and the fact that we've got the 5th pick, maybe we can get a good defensive player at that point. Build the defense at that point because like I think the offensive line will definitely come together. It's starting to look like they're coming together. It's starting to look like they're coming together. Towards the end of the season, it looks like they were coming together. I think if they can come together in this situation, it will be perfect and it will work out from that aspect. The only thing that I'm concerned about though is special teams is going to be the other factor as well too. The special teams is going to play a huge aspect of this. But reality is, like I said, I think congrats to the Seattle Seahawks. What they did was amazing. Darno, as good as he is, I don't think he was that great, quite honestly. I think it's more so the way like Walker played up, but more often, I think in this situation, it was the defense. The defense for the Seattle Seahawks should have been the MVP. If you disagree with me, let me know. Because, you could say, it's like, well, look, Walker had 145 yards. Yeah, but those 145 yards got him only 4 field goals eventually at that point. Quite honestly, in that situation, once the turnover happened, and the Seahawks, the defense were able to get that ball over. I think that just wiped off, basically the Patriots. I don't want to say aura, but you could tell like they were dejected at that point. You could tell they were like so dejected. It's like, oh, they turned the ball over. I was like, how could they have done that? And twice, and it's like twice. That was the thing. So this is a case where like you could see it, like the defense really took it to them. So I mean, you're welcome to let me know about that. Put it in the comment section. I do read all my comments. I do respond to them all. If you've seen, basically, I do respond to most of my comments when they're relevant to the context of the video itself at that point. But with that, I'll leave it at that. Unfiltered, unedited, of course, always unrehearsed. Until next time.